spoilers? Oh, lots and lots of spoilers. Are you ready to show your true colors? Will we see them shining through? This is the street, hombre, and you'd better be ready to defend it for all you're worth, which, if I gotta be speaking the true, don't look like much. Might have to cut you, man. Cut you. Cut to Max Mike Movies. This week, as part of our ongoing series on Hollywood whitewashing called, well, Whitewashing, we're stepping back a few years to a well-known, it's a movie called Walk Proud. Here we see Robby Benson. That's a Hispanic name, isn't it? Yeah. Benson, French, is it? Here we see Robby Benson, who's most likely best known as the voice of the Beast from the Disney cartoon Beauty and the Beast, get himself shoe polished up to play a Chicano gang member from L.A. Don't worry, I'm sure it'll all work out fine for someone, somewhere. In the meantime, I gotta introduce us because it's a thing we do and for which we are handsomely paid in turf. My brother in blood, there on my right is Mighty Dog Max Levine.
Represent!
Yeah, and I am the scrappy do-gooder Mongrel Mike Loose. Can that be my new gang name, Mongrel? I think I'd like that.
Okay, sure.
Call me Mongrel. Everyone out there, call me Mongrel. Before we get to rumbling...
You already do.
Yes, write us in and call me Mongrel. Max Mongrel Movies. Before we get to rumbling with this week's film, we'd like to go over the poll question from last week, because we had one. We asked, is there any movie that has ever made you laugh so hard that your face hurt? If so, which one? We got a couple of good answers here, and because this was a triple secret probation week, each respondent wins quadruple Bumpy Bucks. Bumpy Bucks, the only fake currency preferred by horses. It's true. First up, Val, who offers, quote, the movie that made me laugh so hard it hurt the first time and still makes me laugh, Airplane. Yes, there are inappropriate parts in it that don't wash now, but nobody will ever replace Johnny. And one, and I know Mike agrees with me on this one, What's Up, Doc? I can't really concur in the last one, Val, sorry. It's a favorite movie, but does it make my face hurt funny? No, not quite. As a last-minute addition, Val adds, quote, I forgot one, Soap Dish. I still ROFL every time I watch it, end quote, because you don't say the words, you say ROFL, or Rofel. Right. Let's say Rofel. Remember, I'm Mongrel, and it's Rofel. Okay.
Rofel and Mongrel, they're cops.
You can be Rofel if you want.
Rofel.
Hamburger. Right.
It does sound like a sound effect from a cartoon.
Yeah. Vince from way, way, way up north responded with, quote, I have laughed at a ton of movies, but never so hard it hurt. At a play, a friend of mine had to bury his face in my coat because he was laughing so hard he thought he might pee, though, end quote. Well, peeing is close, but no cigar.
Nope.
Let's all pee together. And finally, Dave offers us, I don't know why we have to say it that way, but it is in fact a law.
He's a lawyer. It's the law. He'll sue us.
He will. He says, quote, I fell out of my chair during the airplane safety video in the middle of Highlander 2, but my face remained free of pain. All of the pain was in my brain and my heart from that movie, end quote. Dave, I feel you. I reach. Thanks for all the great answers. You won't believe what those bucks will get you in the new Bumpy Hut catalog coming soon to a fictional printer near you. But Max...
I actually have another one.
You had another? Where did I miss it?
It came in the email, and it just came in like this morning.
So give us that last-minute quadruple Bumpy Bucks winner answer.
This is from Lauren. That's Dr. Lauren.
Ooh.
Our medical correspondent. And she says... I saw The Meaning of Life in the town of Bryn Mawr. I don't remember the name of the theater. I remember walking back to campus with my hands on my face. It hurt even to smile, but I couldn't stop giggling.
Oh, good choice. Max, will you have one after-dinner mint? They're wafer thin.
I couldn't eat another boy.
Yeah. But Max, what was because you said last week you primed with this question with the idea that you had a face-hurt movie.
Yeah, it's the only one that's ever really caused me pain, and that was Richard Pryor Live in Concert, his first concert film, which I would see at a midnight show at the accidentally burned down Orson Welles' cinema.
Next to Uncle Bunny's, if I remember, or across the street. Yeah.
But that one, it had never happened. I walked out of there at, I guess, 1:30 in the morning, and I couldn't understand why I was in such pain. I was holding onto my face. My cheeks were just killing me, and it happened the second time I saw the movie, and I think it happened the third.
I forget, is that the one before or after his unfortunate Oreo cookie skim milk accident?
It's the one. It's his first. It was the one before. There were actually two before. The third one, I think, is Richard Pryor Here and Now. That was the one afterwards where he actually does the bit of lighting a match and go, "Hey, what's this?" And he shakes it across his face. He goes, "Richard Pryor running down the street." Got to give him points for making jokes about that. But you know, the first one, he's making jokes about having a heart attack, and it's hard to watch because he uses the N-word like it's a comma.
Yeah.
But it oh my Lord, that is funny as hell. It's also painful. But
I actually saw.
What about you? Do you have a face-hurting movie?
I do, but I actually remember seeing that strangely at the Science Center at Harvard. They were showing the Richard Pryor movie.
Really?
I know, weird place.
Not where I would think.
Yeah, and it's funny. Richard Pryor's concert films. Richard Pryor was ridiculously funny, and you will find a lot of comedians that will say, "Yeah, Richard Pryor was the one. He's the one who got me into comedy, or he's the one that I was like, I want to do that." Eddie Murphy, I'm sure, is one of those people who's like, Richard Pryor, he's like next to my God. So, for me, now to be fair, there's probably been movies that have done it, and it's just, you forget. The most recent one I remember was a film I did not want to see. And my buddy the Wheeze, shout out Wheeze, represent Weasels, I guess. The Wheeze wanted me to go. He said, "Dude, you have to go see this film. It's really, really funny." And I was like, okay. So he took us to go see The Hangover, the first one. And the first Hangover film, it's awkward, it's crude, and it's really, really funny.
Where's my tiger?
Yeah, not least of which for that. It's like, wait, what is Mike Tyson doing in this? Which is actually the perfect thing you should say. And I remember laughing, really, probably gasping for air, kind of funny. I don't think it was nearly as bad as your reaction, but that's what I would say. So thanks, everyone, again, quadruple bumpy bucks, and look for the special treasure chest page in the catalog when it gets printed. Never. But next week...
Bumpy Hut Catalog, Chicago, 60609.
Some parts, yes. So next week's wonderful question, which, to be fair, by the time this episode comes out, some of you may have already answered. That's weird. Well, because we post the show on Monday, and I tend to post the question on Sunday, so...
True.
If I remember. So this week's question is, when you go to the actual theater, snacks or no snacks, booze or no booze, bathroom in the middle or not? Let us know, and we'll let you know how at the end of the show.
That's like 3 questions.
Yeah, it's all right. They're all related.
Snacks or no snacks, booze or no booze, bathroom break in the middle or not.
Yep. Because I figure some people
I usually just use the popcorn cup.
Well, that's what it's for. When you're done, I hope. Golden... No, we won't go there. Anyway, Bumpy Bucks, yada, yada, yada. But now, on to that movie you've never heard of. The show. Trivia. Could not find a budget, but the take worldwide, worldwide. This made it out of the West Coast somehow. Was a mere 1.6 million simoleons worldwide, folks, worldwide. In a climate with films like Star Wars, Jaws, Aliens, and the like, I'm guessing this wasn't much of a success. The movie's theme song, which appears over the end credits, Adios Yesterday, was in fact sung by Robby Benson himself. He also scored the film, partially. Yeah.
Did you see who else had a song in there?
Yeah, and then when I first heard it, because I didn't know that particular song, it's like, oh, sure. Now he's singing like Elton John. Oh, it is Elton John.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oddly, this was one of 4 gang-related movies released in 1979, all by itself. The other 3 were the Notorious Warriors. Max? Warriors!
Come out to play, yay!
Very well done. Boulevard Nights and The Wanderers.
Spartan Knights I never heard of.
And me neither. I'd never heard of the Wanderers, but I've seen the Warriors. The Warriors was banned in Boston because apparently we're still a bunch of pilgrims. If you've ever seen the Wanderers, I don't think there's actually a drop of real blood shown in the film.
I mean, the Warriors, not the Wanderers.
In the Warriors, yeah.
Yeah.
There's violence.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really more like, what are they, the gangs of Project Runway, or?
Yeah, it's mostly, everybody in there has like Vidal Sassoon hair and designer vests.
Or a vest and no shirt. Gay! Yeah, the Baseball Furies was the one that killed me, because it's a gang where they're all wearing full baseball uniforms and they have face paint like Kiss. And it's like...
Not quite. It's like, I thought it was more like Star Trek,
Beale, yeah, played by... Frank Gorshin.
Frank Gorshin, yes, the half black, half white, and they're all wearing Yankee uniforms because it's New York, in case you'd forgotten.
But I don't even remember the names of the other ones, but it's like whatever. And anyway, that's not related to this film because, Benson, an up-and-comer in the 70s, might have made a bigger name for himself as a movie star if only that pesky Mark Hamill hadn't beaten him out for the role of Luke Skywalker.
Wow, that would have been a different movie.
Yes. Robby Benson did play a Jew in 1981's The Chosen. Thing is, Benson's background is actually Jewish, as both parents are. That doesn't really help him when portraying somebody supposedly Chicano, but
Or Native American.
Well, there's that too. Admittedly, Benson's character Emilio doesn't know his father is actually a white man. Spoiler! Though if Benson had only removed his brown contact lenses and the makeup and the hair grease, he might have found a clue. Probably not. This film was nominated for a Golden Turkey Award for the most ludicrous racial impersonation in Hollywood history. The other nominees included Elvis Presley as a Native American in Stay Away Joe, a film that's almost made it to this particular series, and, quote, actors, and, quote, Charles Mack and George Moran, who were in traditional full blackface in a film called Hypnotized, which thankfully it was from 1933. But the winner was Marlon Brando, who won for his portrayal as a Japanese man in Tea House of the August Moon. Yes, Marlon, I'm not Japanese Brando, but...
Yeah. Ouch.
And lastly, Bumpy the Wonder Pony does not appear in this film. Shocking. As you might have guessed, there's not a lot of trivia for this movie. I had to go to 3 locations to find even this.
I would like to point out that apart from Robby Benson as the obvious exception, there are a great many Chicano and Latino actors in this movie.
Yes. In fact, we've seen a couple of them. 2 of them in particular were in other movies that we both like.
Oh, yes. I assume you're talking about Trinidad Silva.
Who played Dagger.
Dagger. Who we, of course, know for teaching us that the turtle is nature's suction cup.
Tomorrow I'm teaching poodles how to fly.
From Weird Al Yankovic's UHF.
The other, did you catch the other one?
Well, I've seen Henry Darrow in a bunch of stuff.
So the guy who played Cesar?
Yeah?
He plays Reno in Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and all of the actors who played, actual Hispanic people have nice long careers. They all did lots of things. Interestingly, it's the white people in this film that not as famous. The woman who played Sarah, whose real name is Sarah, I guess it's Tony Danza syndrome. Oops. She was in 4 films, and that was it. And
she was, however, probably the best known. She was in Animal House playing a 13-year-old girl who sleeps with Pinto.
She was also in Caddyshack. She played
that's right.
Maggie. You remember.
Maggie. Yes, actually I do, with a strangely put on Irish accent.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? I do want to mention about Trinidad Silva. It's very sad. He died at the age of 39.
Yeah.
Right during the filming of UHF in a car accident.
Oh, that sucks.
He was hit by a drunk driver.
Yeah. I'm most of these people played roles on TV because there was a lot of, and we're going to get to that. But it was nice that at least there was some representation, and we're going to get to that too.
Such as it was, yeah.
But if you have no other bits of trivia, we can get to the plot.
Yep.
Emilio, Robby Benson, is supposed to be a young man about to graduate high school in Venice, California. He's 17, on the cusp of manhood, and is a member of a violent Chicano gang, the Aztecas, or Los Aztecas. One day, after a particularly lovely bit of violence, he meets a young woman, Sarah, played forgettably by Sarah Holcomb, who's having a little car trouble. There's instant chemistry, please note the quotes, between them, sorta, and Emilio...
We know this because it's in the script.
I think she says so. We have chemistry. And Emilio is soon sniffing about for Sarah's affections. But there's a problem. His gang life doesn't fit in with her clean, white, pressed Presbyterian lifestyle. As things escalate between gangs and Sarah catches Emilio in lies about his activities, Emilio suddenly finds out that the long-lost father he thought was a Mexican businessman is in fact a white man who drinks and runs a taxi company in Mexico. Torn apart by a mixed heritage he didn't know he had, Emilio feels like a fake with nowhere to turn. When one of his gang brothers is roughed up by a rival gang, Emilio finally makes the decision to step away from the violence. As his unwillingness to participate requires him to step down, he submits to being tossed out of the gang via ritual thugsmanship and his upbeating, which I think is the proper way of saying that.
Upbeating? What do you do? What are you, Frank Herbert?
Well, I don't want to end the sentence with a preposition, so his upbeating. But Sarah is there to take him into her arms, bad makeup and all, promising that his poor, mixed-up bruiser from the barrio does in fact have a chance. The end. The lowdown. And now the notes about Walk Proud. Walk Proud. Did I mention the name of the film earlier? I'm not sure I did. Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah.
So,
and boy, is this a 1979 movie.
Well, so here's the thing. Director Albert L. Collins, not to be confused with Robert Collins, who is actually the same guy. He just added the... Never mind. Every other credit except for this was a TV movie or a TV episode. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you did. When it first started, it's like, what's with the 4:3 format?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Does it made for TV love you? Or I don't...
I think it does. I think it made for TV loves us. Yeah, that was serious. Yeah, I was sitting there going, what, did I get the wrong format? All of a sudden it's all stretched.
Yeah. I can't say that I believe it would ever have made it to TV, because quite honestly, for 70s TV, it is too violent. We see people getting stabbed. We see people getting shot and roughed up, and they're forced to wear bad makeup. I mean, they're bruised and battered.
I do want to point out, I do want to bring up one thing. Back in the mid to late 70s, probably around 76, 77, there was a Saturday Night Live sketch. Gilda Radner was cast as a young Hispanic man. And, hey, she did it. She could do it. Gilda Radner was a goddamn genius and could play anything. The point of the sketch, I'm still not sure Jimmy Carter shows up.
What?
Don't ask.
Okay.
But at one point, and oddly, this sort of mimics a little of this movie. It predates it a little in that, Carlos, Gilda Radner, is in love with a young Anglo girl, Jane Curtin.
Right.
And has this line which says, "You don't understand. I'm a Chicano, and to be a Chicano means to be proud and to drive up and down the boulevard all day and all night in big cars low to the ground." That is this movie. That is this movie. That line, that part of the sketch is this entire movie. Dave, you know what I'm talking about. We quote this line all the time.
Well, it's funny because that's how the movie starts, and my first note was, "Wow, traffic was terrible at this time in L.A." They're cruising. That's what they do.
Yeah, they are.
I do have to wonder. He has this car that he has quote modified himself. Where does he get the money? Because they don't seem to live in a big house, and he doesn't seem to have a job. He just Like the car, it's not like, oh, it's an old piece of junk that he nursed back to health. No, it's this really nice, fully dubbed with hooker, header, glass pack, roly bully
things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really cool painted. It's got this chain for a steering wheel. It's like, it is a fully customized cruising mobile. And it's like,
we know they rob people.
Well, no, we know they attempt to rob people.
Yeah, they do an incredibly bad job of robbing a record store.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that killed me, too, is that they robbed... It was supposed to be in a Hispanic neighborhood because it was called Disco Latino, I think it was the name of the record store. It's like, why wouldn't you go and rob the nice white people? Because they can afford it. But whatever. We get Robbie Benson again, best known for Beauty and the Beast. He was also in movies like Ice Castles, Ode to Billy Joe, which is I think where he gets his. Is that where he gets his Native American role? I can't remember.
Not sure. I
think he
know.
jumps
and
off.
Of course, he was also in City Limits. Which we know from Mystery Science Theater fame.
Oh, that's right. The Chosen, which was his Hassic Jew. So he has a Jewish background. Don't think he's Hasidic.
He is not. And I remember it's a little thrown to see a Hasidic Jew with bright blue eyes, although they exist.
Yeah. And to be fair, before doing a little research, neither of us thought he was Jewish.
I didn't think he was Jewish, but apparently he is.
Yeah, apparently his the family name was Segal or Siegel, probably Siegel, Segal. Yeah. But he's he's done tons and tons of voiceover work. That's where he's and TV. Apparently, he's a very good acting professor. He teaches acting in I think it's North Carolina.
I'm guessing he doesn't use this film in his syllabus much.
I hope not. Because I got to say, two things I noticed right away. One, he is badly dubbed. Like, they had to loop most of his dialogue. Not all of it, but most of it. And
it's his voice.
Because he does this accent, And
Lord, he sounds like Speedy Gonzalez. I'm sorry.
Kinda.
And everything about him is the way he walks.
Oh, that swagger?
The swagger, the bouncing up and down, which you notice none of the other characters do.
No, the ones who are actually Latino and and to be fair, I should be careful because I know Latino does mean a specific background, and I'm not sure.
No, they refer to themselves in this as Chicano, which is specifically Mexican.
Right.
Of Mexican origin, Mexican American, yeah.
But yeah, he has this weird strut, which there's it's a note. You can tell it's an actor's note. Do not forget to strut. There's no reason for it because the character himself doesn't generally come off as being that confident.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the way he struts, it reminds me of Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd doing Two Wild and Crazy Guys.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
He's very soft-spoken for most of the film. He's doing his voices very like this, and he tries to do this rhythm thing, and it's just like none of the other actual Chicano actors are doing this. They occasionally will throw some Spanish in it, which makes sense. I'm sure that's part of the culture, but it's like you have all of these potential acting coaches surrounding you, and you're paying attention to none of them.
Yeah, it's kind of Alec Guinness and the Japanese language coach all over again.
Well, except in this case, it's the entire film. I mean, if anything, he's taking acting lessons from Sarah, which is also not the best idea.
No, it is an unfortunate thing. The two of them really don't have much chemistry. I mean, I guess there's a little, but you also wonder, why does she like him? He's kind of a jerk.
Well, and he lies to her.
Yeah, he does. He even lies. He swears on the Virgin Mary that he's not in a gang to his mother.
Yeah.
Which, that never comes back up, by the way. No. It's like, oh, okay, I believe you. And Mom just sort of fades into the background.
Yeah. Well, she shows up for the big ceremony thing, and then at the final...
Yeah, she shows up for the quinceañera, and she shows up for the big reveal that, hi, look at this, your father is a white guy.
Yeah.
Which again, that's clearly supposed to be a major dramatic beat, and it just kind of isn't.
Yeah, my note was the meeting with Emilio's father goes nowhere. Like, they're sitting there, and it's like he's not... It's so weird because Benson is playing Emilio as being uncomfortable and not knowing what to say. The father's just being a jerk. It's like, basically, I banged your mom back then, and I didn't want to stay around because being a father's stupid. And you would think that, Emilio might lash out or be angry, showing his violent nature, the gang thing okay. And he basically just sort of like, well, I'm upset, and he leaves. And that was it. I mean, there was just it, and we never see him again, which is fine. We don't need to. But then, and maybe this is believable, maybe it isn't. But basically, the character of Emilio latches on to the fact that he suddenly doesn't know who he is, and it's like, well, that doesn't have to change if you don't want it to. You have two heritages behind you. You can easily say, I identify with this one, and no one will care. No one's cared up till now. The only thing they care about later is that you won't come to the big fight.
Except that, no, I think that could have been a major thing, because when you suddenly find out that your image of yourself, especially, if you're 17 years old, you're a teenager, you're still trying to figure out who you are, and part of your roots, the thing that you've defined yourself as, it turns out to be a lie, I could see that being very upsetting. It just doesn't come off that way.
Well, at least he doesn't...
There's one scene where he's like, I'm so upset, and I'm done.
Well, at least he doesn't find out he's a princess. I mean, that...
No. I swear, when he's talking to Sarah at the yacht club, or whatever it is,
yeah,
like, wow, not too subtle.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know who I am anymore, and I was waiting for, you're tearing me apart, Lisa.
It all comes back to the room.
I am not comparing Robby Benson in any way to Tommy Wiseau in terms of acting ability, but in terms of the way this is written.
I guess I'll grant you that point. If it could have been something that could have been an issue, it just wasn't. It was badly handled. But then again, what in this film wasn't badly handled? Yeah. First, we get Robby Benson, and it's not shoe polish, but it's bronzer, and it's not consistent. And
yeah, he is dark complexioned in general, but he's not that dark complexioned. Not the way he is in the movie.
He isn't. He's not. There's current pictures. He's not quite as pink as I am, but he's pink. He had stuff put in his hair because his hair was a lighter brown, and that's not consistent. There's some scenes where quite honestly, it's Bobby Brady all over again. If you ever watched the first season of the Brady Bunch, they had to slick down poor Mike Lookinland's hair because he was nearly blonde and he wouldn't have fit in with the rest of the boys. And then after that, they're like, it looks terrible. It looks like his hair is always dirty. So they stopped doing it. But it's the same thing here.
And then they all got perms.
Well, that's what Brady men do. I don't know why the Brady Bunch has it took place in the 70s. There's a connection. Yeah. But there's times when his hair is darker and greasier, and there's times where it's not. There's times, I have to actually say, I honestly think that they started this film when they were filming the rehearsals, because his performance is never good, but it actually gets better, which is weird, because I don't think I've ever seen a film where an actor starts off terrible and actually makes it nearly to adequate in the same film. Because at the end, there is a scene where he's trying to get the rest of the gang. What has happened is at a ceremony where a local girl has turned 15, and apparently there's a big celebration for that.
It's called a quinceañera, yeah.
The rival gang shows up, seizes their opportunity, and attacks Dagger on his own, which, there you go. And this is, of course, a bad thing. So after they put a stop to that, they call for all Los Aztecas to show up, and we're going to go get those guys. We're going to get El Tigre. And, of course, I kept thinking of the cartoon. It's like, oh, El Tigre, which if you've not seen, see El Tigre. It's a great cartoon. And he's like, has this passionate speech because he's finally decided, I'm going to walk away. I am going to no longer be part of this whole thing. And it's actually not badly delivered. It's not greatly delivered. It's probably
it ain't the St. Crispin Day speech, but
it's not coffee is for closers. No. But when you look at the beginning of the film and the end of the film, it's sort of like the beginning of his acting course and the end of his acting course. He actually does get better. It's just not good.
Yeah, when you consider that movies aren't shot chronologically, I wonder if they shot the ending stuff first and he just got tired out.
Well, it's tough being 17, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. The rest of the actors are fine. Nobody's bad. They're not outstandingly good either. There's one guy that I swear we don't have Samuel L. Jackson yet, but we might as well. It's a guy playing Sergeant Gannon, which is weird because that's the name of the character that Harry Morgan played in Dragnet, but whatever. And he's, he plays a black cop who's basically, he knows what's going on, and he's like, he can't pin anything on these kids, and he's basically trying to give them a speech that says, look, in less than 6 months, most of y'all are going to be 18, and then everything that you're getting away with now is going to be a felony or worse, and you're actually
Gannett's a good cop.
Yeah. Jackson's a good cop.
Yeah. No,
all the other actors, except for Sarah, are fine.
And, Henry Darrow as Mike Serrano, it's hard. I'm not sure. I don't think he's a cop. He's the older guy. I think
Gitano? Serrano. Lazola.
Serrano.
Sorry, it's a Mitchell thing.
Yeah.
That's a deeper.
Serrano's got the discs. But Serrano, who I think is maybe a social worker or a youth outreach, I'm not sure what he is.
He's both. He seems to be like the youth cop.
Yeah, he's a youth counselor, and he's also from the streets.
Yeah.
And he's actually a pretty interesting character, and they do nothing with him, and he's in 3 scenes.
Yeah. And
he's the one who makes some pretty good points about what happens when you're 18? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right now you get because you just go to juvie for a few months, whatever you commit, but in a few months you're going to be 18. Then what happens? Then you go to prison for committing crimes.
Even more important, he says, look, once you turn 18, they wipe your record clean. You've got a chance to literally walk away.
You can start over,
be a new person, which what the movie's supposed to be about, which eventually Emilio does. And we get the impression that maybe Dagger's going to do that too, because he helps Emilio at the end of the film when he gets beat up in a very weird but understandable and yet still goofy ejection from the gang scene.
Yeah, it's apparently a ritual where they line up in 2 lines and you walk down the middle and they beat the living crap out of you and possibly almost kill you.
I mean, quite honestly, it's a Klingon ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be using pain sticks and reciting love poetry.
Gnor! And he gets through and he ducks out just long enough to have some really bad makeup put on. But
boy, that was really, trying to make it look all beaten up and bruised and swollen, and it really looks like I am not an animal.
Oh, I guess I am. It looked like it was peeling in places. It was not. But yeah, Dagger and Sarah help him walk away, help him walk proudly, I guess is more correct. And then we see the youngest member, his cousin Manuel, at the very end, look angrily at the gang and take off his gang headband and throw it on the ground. And he too is going to walk proudly, I guess.
Yeah. So there's hope for the future and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah,
But let's get to the point that pretty much this entire film decides to tell us that the only thing you need to know about Chicano culture is that everyone's in a gang.
Yep, everyone's in a gang, and everyone's incredibly violent, and they do the worst job I've ever seen of psyching themselves up to go fight.
Yeah.
There is a sequence where they're about to go out, they got their guns, and they're like, yeah, we're going to get them, boy! And I am sorry, I think the actors themselves knew how silly the dialogue was, and are just having a lot of trouble trying not to laugh.
Yeah. I was trying not to snore. That was my problem. But
that's and again I know we're sort of skipping ahead to the spoiler here, but that's the thing with this movie. It's kind of boring.
I use the word dull, but yeah.
We've seen this story done better many times. Hell, we've seen it set to music in West Side Story.
I think we've seen it better done on the Animaniacs.
Yeah.
I can't name the episode, but I'm sure it's in there. Oops.
I mean, and even as these gang movies go, look, The Warriors, it's goofy. It's a lot of fun. It's a comic book movie.
Yeah, although it was deemed... It actually did cause night fights in New York theaters.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I don't know why. I think it's just like... I say he's using conditioner and leave-in. No, he's using mousse. You bastard! Ah!
That's Vidal Sassoon you're talking about. Smile when you say... I don't know.
That's Paul Mitchell. Oh, you did not say that.
Yeah, the hairstyling wars. And the best part is that the DJ in that film who kept coming on going, listen to me, boppers. She ended up on Carmen Sandiego, but there you go. Talk about weird-ass trivia. So... We don't get any of the actual culture. To be fair, a lot of big cities were having a lot of gang problems in the 70s. That part's fair. But we really never get to see...
That isn't all they were having.
No. There's tons of important things. There's tons of... I mean, this is where I always go for culture. I think it's the best gateway to any culture, the food. Because pretty much I can't think of a single culture doesn't have something they're like, oh yeah, I want to try that. What's that? I mean, admittedly, Iceland and their weird shark that's been out there.
How Carl is decent.
Max is strange.
Yeah? How about England? What food in England are you dying to try?
The pasty.
Okay, you got me.
And actually Bangers
Yeah.
and Match, Toad in the Hole. There's actually a lot of British food that's really good.
Yeah, but it's so
puddings,
much fun to make fun of them.
It is. But using the food as a gateway to get people you want to start talking about culture, try some of the food. As we all know, real Mexican food, not Taco Bell, is actually really good and really has a lot of depth and
It's very complex.
Yeah.
It's very elaborate. But there's also the art. I mean, they only show like one or two examples of the street art or the graffiti.
Yeah.
And if you go in East L.A., some of the wall art and such is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in the 70s, what we see is that's pretty much what there was. It hadn't been really elevated.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Not yet. I also got a feeling, because we get to that scene where we're in the church and we're seeing the ceremony of the 15-year-old girl turning. I guess it's sort of like, the closest version we would have is like a debutante or a coming out.
Kind of. It's like
something.
a coming, yeah.
Yeah. I actually got the feeling that they were trying to vaguely reference The Godfather. Like they were trying to show.
Really?
Because of the religion and the community, this is the only thing we see about the community is all the family coming together for this thing. And
maybe.
I mean, I don't think they did it well if they were trying to reference The Godfather, but there was a parallel, right? Because The Godfather was all about the gang activity in the Italian community in America. This film is what would happen if a white guy pretended to be Hispanic and was in a gang in L.A.
But you notice one of the other things that's really missing from this movie that's a big part of the culture, the music.
Yeah.
The music is generic 70s pop. And I mean, okay, yeah, there's Elton John, but most of the rest just sounds like stuff from TV soundtracks.
Well, Elton John, well-known Hispanic singer.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I honestly kept waiting for somebody to come out going, 1 ton tomato, that's a real deeper. You get extra Bunkby bucks if anybody can tell me where that's from. I'm betting nobody can.
I think I know, but I won't say it because it won't give it away.
No. There's literally, we see that they go to church. That's it. We see nothing else of the culture of Mexican Americans in this film. And I actually came up with a question for this because I think it is important. This is one of our talking points. If this movie should be made, please know should I put in all caps, how could it be made so that it was respectful but not PC? So let's say you want to do this sort of Romeo and Juliet thing.
Well, for one thing, cast an actual Mexican American as the lead actor. How about that?
Yeah, that would be good. Because I actually think this is important. A lot of the times we come across these films and we say things like, oh, it's not representing this, it's not representing that. And it's like, well, does every movie have to represent everything? And that's where I think you get bogged down because then you're not telling the story you want to tell. Admittedly, this story has been tale as old as... Yeah, we did that. And your first point is spot on. I mean, that should have happened anyway. We should not have had Robbie Benson playing... Hispanic or Chicano gang member because, I mean, for one thing, there's nothing threatening about Robbie Benson. Besides the fact that there's nothing Chicano, there's nothing threatening.
He's just, he's not menacing. There's a sequence at one point where we're supposed to get a little bit of the idea of the harassment that Chicanos underwent. You know, these cops stop him for basically walking while Chicano.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
There's this one scene that never comes up again, and that also is kind of badly serving. It's one of the real problems. The whole idea with the gang culture in this movie is it's just, oh, that's what we do because we're violent and this is how we express ourselves, as opposed to the reason a lot of gangs form, and not just in Chicano or Latino communities or black communities or Jewish communities or Italian communities, it's because these places are really badly served by the police.
Right.
And they band together to protect themselves, and they band together because it gives them community. It gave them something to belong to, something larger and more powerful, and that isn't addressed at all.
No, in fact, they use that racism point merely as a reason for Emilio to say, we can't be together, so there's a little bit of conflict. It's like the racism point is all about their relationship, not about what's actually happening. Because there's very few white people in this film, which is fine, But even when they show up, the most we get is a suspicious father who, quite honestly, could be suspicious about a white kid. Nothing he says to Emilio is anything more than him protecting his daughter, because it could have been anybody. And
it's not particularly aimed. He doesn't seem to object to the fact that he's Mexican American.
No.
And I actually, they have only like one real interaction, which is a shame, because I thought that was kind of interesting. He says, I could make her stop seeing you. She still listens to me. And I liked Emilio's response is, I don't think that'll work.
Well, and then
the
he
father
says,
looks at him and goes, yeah, probably not.
Well, he also says, I know Sarah. And I'm like, how?
Yeah, how do you know her? We don't know her. Nobody.
Their entire relationship consists of them going to a place, her saying something, and him being offended by it. Like, oh, you say that because I am Chicano. And it's like, she's literally, her first action is actually pretty admirable. She's like, I don't know anything about Chicano culture. I'm going to go to the library and try to read about it. Now, it's a little misguided, but he
found that offensive. Although I can kind of see it, because he said, like, so I'm like an animal or some kind of thing that you go and look up. But, yeah, misguided, but I wish they had done a little more with that. That was kind of interesting, because, like, oh, maybe that's like how she approaches the world.
Yeah.
If she doesn't understand something, she goes and tries to research it.
Sure. She's supposed to be smart. Not only rich, but smart, which is fine. But again,
rich compared to him. I mean, it's not like her father is
she's driving a Porsche to high school.
He's a periodontist. That was a Porsche?
Yeah. She's driving a Porsche to high school.
Okay, he must be a really good periodontist. Okay.
And he has a yacht.
He does have a boat.
I have a mention and a yacht.
And a yacht. Oh my God, her father's Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, sure. So I think all of these things, like, I think there should have been, because actually Emilio's expecting there to be a problem with her dad because he's Chicano. So there should have been. Like, it's not bad enough that, I swear the dad looks at him and goes, oh, dear gods, you're in a gang, aren't you? Like, he's doing that thing, that bouncy thing that says, look at me, I'm so great, I'm so great, I'm so great. And it's like, you're 17, you weigh 10 pounds, whatever.
Well, he also notices the gang tattoo on his hand.
Oh, this means nothing. It's like, I did this with a pen to myself, but it doesn't mean anything. But again, nothing comes of that. And then when she finds out that he lied to her, that he is in a gang, her initial reaction was very smart. She says, I'm leaving, and runs away from him. The dumb thing is that she keeps coming back to him because they get along,
apparently,
they both like cheese. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently off-screen they must get along great. I don't know.
Considering this was a PG-rated film, they barely kiss. There is barely anything going on in this film. It's all the violence.
A lot of face touching. He brushes his fingers against her face a lot.
Yeah. And in fact, when she brings up the idea, it's like, well, she doesn't come out and say, do you have sex with other girls? But she kind of says that in a after-school special kind of way. This film actually is like an after-school special with violence, but that's not even particularly convincing violence. He seems offended that she would think he would do this, which is weird because
for the horrendous amounts of violence, and some of it is pretty. I think it's like one person dies.
Yeah.
This includes the guy who shot at point-blank range. I think he lived.
He just got shot in the leg. Nobody dies.
No. The guy robbing the record store. The record store owner shoots him in the chest.
But he lived. He went to the hospital, remember?
He lived.
But the guy that in the beginning of the film, where they're like, shoot him in the face, Cesar says, shoot him in the face. He shoots the guy in the leg. He doesn't die either.
Yeah,
nobody does.
He doesn't die. Dagger doesn't die.
No. In fact, Dagger's feeling better like an hour later when they're going to the Rumble. Let's go.
Yeah.
And here's the weird thing. After the big Rumble happens, the next day we see Emilio speaking to Sarah about what happened. And he talks about all these guys were laid out and stuff. And then the next scene, they're all at his little ceremony.
Looks like they're all there. We don't see anybody missing.
Or hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody's
forgot. Bruised.
So, whatever.
I got better.
So I think that what they could have done, and again, this would have been stealing from the Godfather, is when we go to the Godfather, the first thing is this amazing Italian wedding where both Max and I are like, I want to go to that. That looks like fun. I bet the food's great. The wine never stops coming. Yeah, let's do that.
Music's good, yeah.
We find out more about Italian culture. Here we learn nothing. So you could make this film and show how the gangs are affecting that neighborhood, how it's affecting people who want nothing to do with it, and where he might go. Could he be a mechanic? Sure. What's the deal with that? He obviously is very good at it, which I find hard to believe because he can't get the Porsche to start. And
and you notice his hands are suspiciously clean.
Well, except a bronzer or kiwi polish. Yeah. But there's just nothing. So you could do this, and you actually would feel more for Emilio if you felt him being torn apart by wanting to be part of the regular community and not wanting to be with his quote unquote his brothers.
Trying to figure out where he fits in the world.
Well, because you're a brother until you're not, because that's what. Yeah. I honestly think that half the time Benson looks like he's forgetting his lines. And then when he does remember them, it's pretty terrible. Again, till the end. Yeah. That last speech is actually pretty good, but it's still adequate. It's not. That's about it.
And one of the problems is that accent he's trying to do. He ends up mumbling a lot. He ends up swallowing a lot of his words.
Yeah.
And he's clearly not getting it right because I don't have trouble understanding anybody else in this movie.
No. And in fact, after watching this movie, I think I know less about the Hispanic community than I did before watching it.
Yeah.
I had a couple of other questions, some of which we've used in previous films, so they're technically your questions. Was this movie sincere?
I don't really think this movie... About what? About...
I didn't add that in there.
Yeah.
About portraying gang life and stuff.
No, it was purely for sensationalism, I think. It was just like, oh, everyone else is doing a gang movie, let's do a gang movie.
Yeah, apparently that was what 79 was all about. It's also the year Alien came out, but whatever.
That's it. Okay, Robbie, you think you could have something burst out of your chest in the middle of this scene?
It's more like
what? That. Never mind. No, we don't have the budget for it anyway. What was he talking about? Don't ask. Just smile and look mean.
Yeah. Was there anything? I know. Was there anything remotely accurate in this film?
There is a city called Los Angeles, and there are places in it called Venice, and
I've been to Venice.
This one. What was the other one?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. Yeah,
I've been there too.
So, yes, those things were accurate, and it is entirely possible because most filming in that point was done in California that some of it was filmed near there.
Yeah, and I'm willing to even give them that there probably were and may even still be gangs that have Chicano people in them in that area. Yeah. After that,
I think we're done. Yeah, that I believe is the limit of the accuracy.
I have another question that only occurred to me this morning, which I watched the movie last night, and it was a kind of an insidious question. And so we find out that Emilio has mixed parentage. He has a white guy father and his lovely Mexican mother. And I say that because she actually is from Mexico. He was born here, but she talks about when her mother dies, they go back to Mexico for the funeral. Do you think this film is suggesting that the only reason Emilio tries to make a break from his gang to rise above everything is because he's part white?
Intentionally? I don't know. But that definitely is some of the subtext.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's the good one because not all of his blood is impure.
I mean, for that to be true, he'd have to be a pod.
Yeah, well.
Because we're all human, folks.
Yeah.
But it didn't initially occur to me, but it's like,
that's interesting. I hadn't really thought of that, but yeah, I wonder if there's a little of that there, whether they meant it or not. Yeah, maybe. And of course, he's like, oh God, that would even make him the part white savior because he's helping Dagger and Manuel.
Right.
And the idea is, yes, I'm going to leave behind this life and go join the nice white people.
Right. Which essentially what he's doing.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, that really makes the message unpleasant.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring it up. He's like, let's see what Max thinks. So I appreciate hearing your thoughts.
I think you got a point. I think that is unfortunately. I think that's pretty on target.
Okay. There's a couple of metaphors. By metaphor, I mean the kind of metaphor in a Tom and Jerry cartoon where Jerry takes the big cast iron metaphor and smacks Tom in the face with it.
That
so
kind.
You might remember there's literally a point in the film where the character of Emilio has closed the gate, the iron gate between him, locking Sarah, locking because she's, it's impossible for her to turn the knob.
Yeah, because she's on the inside.
The inside, the white side, the safe side of the gate, and she's talking to Emilio through the bars. Did you get that metaphor?
It was way too subtle for me. I missed that completely. Wow, that was too elegant, you know.
Ham?
No,
meat fist.
Yes, and they're reaching through the bars to touch each other.
Yeah, it was a definite "I made for TV, love you" moment.
Yeah.
The whole Romeo and Juliet thing is, I mean, it's sort of there. I mean, it's they don't do the whole
kind of, except there isn't direct antagonism between his community and Sarah. The one or two times you see her interact with his family or his gang, they're actually pretty nice to her.
Yeah, they kiss her hand. I mean, yeah, they're obviously trying to play things up, but quite honestly, the gangs in Romeo and Juliet are a lot more fun.
Yeah, and there's no song of, stay with your own kind.
Yeah.
Listen to Rita Moreno and stay with your own kind.
Well, they were all Italian, so they were.
Or,
Italian by way of Britain. Jolly old chap. So, yeah. Any other metaphors you'd like to call out that our audience might want to know about in case they hopefully missed this film?
Not really. I don't think that this film had anything particularly subtle in it.
No. Well, do you want to get to the end then?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
The Roundup.
So, Mike, what'd you think?
So this is a film that's actually been in my head for people who have never heard of this book, and I'm not surprised if you haven't, as I don't think it's been printed many times. The Golden Turkey Awards, at least for me, and probably also slightly for Max, is kind of been a guiding light when it comes to movie viewing.
It has been, I don't know about a guiding light, but it's been a major reference and resource.
Yeah. And it was written by these two brothers, Harry and Michael Medved. Michael Medved, you probably have heard of. He went on to take the place of Siskel and Ebert on the PBS version of Sneak Previews when Siskel and Ebert said, hey, we can make money at this, and left. He is or at least was a well-known movie critic. He was a lot more fun back then than he was now.
Yeah. He got a little politically unpleasant.
Yes, he did, among other things. And they just put together this book of fake awards, the Golden Turkey Award, about various things. And this film was one of them. And the thing is those folks actually had to go to the theater to see them because the book came out in the 70s or early 80s. So there was no, maybe you'd see a film on TV once in a while. Not this one. But otherwise, he actually had to go. And it was a goal for me to see as many of the films in that book as I could. And the sad part is I've been pretty successful.
Oh, dear.
Some of them on a big screen, like Robot Monster and Plan 9, which I've seen, I think, 4 times in a theater.
Wow.
Which is not something to brag about. But anyway, so this is one of those films that I've been very curious about for a long time, but I'd never seen. And thankfully, it's rentable. Lucky you. Starting with its weird 4:3 format, and by that I mean the image is nearly square, just like the old TV screens were. It feels like a TV movie. It's cast like a TV movie because most of these actors did mostly TV episodes. It was directed by a guy whose every credit besides this one was a TV movie.
Even the language is pretty TV safe.
Yeah. I swear I expected at one point the camera to pan and we just get a hint of Raincoat and somebody going, just one more thing. Because it's like that. It could have been a gang movie and still have represented the culture, not least of which by casting a non-Anglo in the main role. I will say this, his contacts were actually pretty good. It looked like he had brown eyes.
They were very convincing. Yeah.
Yeah, the kiwi shoe polish, not so much. I don't remember. The only thing I remember about Robby Benson in general is that he was in every teen magazine possible. And you can see why. He's a very good looking young man. They have his shirt off half the time, and he's nicely built for somebody who's obviously still growing up. I'm sure he broke a lot of hearts. And then you actually hear him talk, and it's like, oh. At least now, he's not a very good actor. I would even go to say, at least for most of this film, he's a bad actor. He
can at times be competent.
Yeah, but it takes a while to warm up. And his accent is unnecessary and terrible. So, and it matches his makeup. So it's not a good film. It's not a good representation of Chicano, Latino culture, Hispanic culture. I wish we got to know more. Film like Coco, I'm sure there are things it misses too, but you get a much better idea of how important family is, for example. You get some of the background. And you could do that and not have to make it a travelogue film. And this film doesn't even attempt to. It's just not interested. So as far as whitewashing, it whitewashes big. It whitewashes right in your face. And it doesn't do the culture any favors. Max, what about you?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And also, as a movie, it's uninteresting.
Yeah,
you don't get drawn in. The problem is some of the side characters are interesting. I kind of would like to know more about Dagger. I would have even liked to know more about Cesar or Manuel. See him growing up in this culture, but the main characters are so bland and cliche. Everything in this movie, everyone is a stereotype.
Yeah,
and the sad part is there are good people in this movie, and they're just completely wasted. And the story we've seen done better. Even as a gang movie, there isn't enough action in it to be exciting.
We don't know why they're together.
No.
Because when he's not with her, he's literally robbing stores. Like we're supposed to, and lying to his mother and, lying with religion.
Yeah, the romance is unconvincing. It's all surface. It does not work. I can see why this movie is so obscure and why it's never had much of a resurgence. I think this is a one to avoid.
Yeah. So good thing that we were here to.
We watched it, so you don't have to.
But hey, at least that end song, "Adios Yesterday," Robby Benson continues to sing it with that stupid accent.
Yes, he does.
So that's even worse, because if there was hope that the single had some life on the radio or something, it's a white guy singing with a Speedy Gonzalez accent. So whatever. But yeah. Well, we'd like to remind people about our poll question, our podcast poll question, which is, when you go to the actual real life theater, snacks or no snacks, booze or no booze, bathroom in the middle or not, let us know, and you can do so at our website, which is maxmongrelmovies.com. It's really Max Mike, don't go there. We better buy that now.
I got to go register that domain name. Hang on.
So maxmikemovies.com, which has all of our back episodes, including specials that are not inside a series. Ooh. You can email us with our email address, which is us@maxmikemovies.com. If you like social media, we are on Facebook and Twitter under, you guessed it, Max Mike Movies. And last but not least, if you have a podcast app that you really, really, really like and want to marry it, we're probably on there as Max Mike Movies. Remember, though, I'm mongrel. So answer our poll question and get bumpy bucks. Don't taste like shrimp. It's true. So, Max.
Yeah.
We're not done with this series yet. We still got one from you to go.
We got a couple more. And next week we're going back to the delightful way Asian characters have been treated.
Oh, so well.
In a movie that is actually, it's not known so much for that, but it's known because it's a Ray Harryhausen special effects movie.
Oh.
Yes.
Wait, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Oh, actually, we could do that.
There is a 7 in it. But it's the
seven. The severed head with Kevin Spacey and
What's in the box? No, it's the 7 Faces of Dr. Lau, where we have a Chinese character, Dr. Lau, played by noted Chinese actor Tony Randall.
Randall, that's Randall. That's Asian.
From the Qingdao province, I believe, by way of The Odd Couple. Yes, that Tony Randall.
Great. So are you telling us he does this 7 times?
He does 7 things, but yes.
Great.
You'll see.
So if you're hoping for a no ticky, no shirty, next week might be your film.
And we'll be there in all 7 of our faces.
With 8, you get egg roll.
Oh, Lord. This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.